and good morning. I am Amy Lowe. I am a certified divorce financial analyst, and this is Eileen Stoner. And thank you for being here today.
Happy to. Thanks.
And we are continuing our conversation about family law and attorneys. So today we thought we might talk just quickly about how to pay for your attorney.
So thank you for having me.
Of course.
We have been discussing divorce specifically. I lead the second Saturday Lake Norman Divorce Workshop for Women, and that workshop is a nationally acclaimed workshop that for 30 years now has sought to help women become more informed about the law and money and emotions.
And gosh, what a wonderful resource it is for women.
Really is. We both talk to so many gals who they find out they're in a divorce situation and they don't know what to do. So specifically today, I guess, Amy, we're talking about when you need to engage the services of a family lawyer to help you navigate through divorce.
Which we've talked about previously, how important we feel like it is to have representation. So we thought we'd go through maybe some of the different types of fees that are associated, and then also maybe ways to pay for.
Yeah. Oftentimes I'll be speaking with a woman and she'll tell me, "Oh, Eileen, I can't afford a lawyer."
Right.
I'm sure you've heard that as well. And so sometimes I'll ask, well, have you spoken with anybody yet? And more often than not, they'll say no. I just know I can't afford a lawyer. And so where they're getting that sense from is probably just some general perceptions they have about hiring a lawyer, but also maybe from friends and neighbors and coworkers who are, telling possibly how expensive their own divorce was.
Right. Well, and not every lawyer is great for every client, and vice versa. Not every client is great for every lawyer. So if you find that the attorney that you're speaking with isn't a good fit or isn't flexible, maybe search out a little bit further and broaden your net.
Yeah. So last time we talked, we discussed circumstances that make a divorce a little bit more complicated, and then some of those divorce scenarios where the couple agrees and it's very amicable and things are easy to split. And
right.
we pretty much came to the general and I think correct conclusion, which is that, the more complexity involved, the more it's likely that a woman needs some legal help. So, the best way to figure out if you can afford a lawyer, I would say, is to call a couple of family lawyers locally, find out how much divorce work they do. We probably want someone who specializes in divorce work, and it's not uncommon for them to be willing to do a free consultation, usually over the phone, or by Zoom.
Right. And especially right now.
Right. and just ask them, tell them a little bit what's going on, and ask them, what do you charge for divorce work and how do you get paid?
And it does vary based on your location. So, it is important to reach out to a few different attorneys and make sure, number one, that they can represent you in your area, and two, find out what kind of a range of rates would be.
And that's a fair question to ask, and I would make the case it's also a fair question to haggle about a little bit. Don't be afraid.
Negotiate.
Right, to negotiate. And all of divorce, is just again and again trying to negotiate and find places where people can compromise. So, when you think about kind of the things that typically have to be decided, let's say that a couple has a contested divorce, right? They're not in agreement about certain aspects of it, or maybe they're not in agreement about any aspects. So the big things we have to work through, I would say, would be issues of child custody,
right,
child support, maintenance, and maintenance would be more like what people are familiar with when they use the word alimony, right? Some kind of income while you're going through the separation, and then sometimes after the divorce. So child custody, child support, maintenance, division of property,
right,
and then division of retirement assets.
Well, and two, sometimes there's a temporary, before, kind of as you're going through the process, understanding who is going to pay for things until everything is settled.
Right.
So there's that little interim temporary period.
Absolutely. And, what areas do you find where it's more common that soon-to-be exes might have some agreement? Any area in particular where they tend to have a little bit better ability to compromise and agree, would you say, in your experience?
I think when maybe there's not children involved, when there aren't as many assets, they can just easily look at things and say, we've come to agreement, we're going to split everything somewhat 50-50, something like that. And it's less complicated.
Yeah. And I think too, even in families where there are kids, more often than not, no matter how much the spouses disagree with each other, they do verbalize wanting to do the best they can for their kids.
Right.
And so if you thought about those 5 areas where we have to come some sort of agreement, sometimes if you can get the child custody and the child support taken care of between the couple, that takes 2 of the big items off the lawyer's list.
Right.
If you can't agree on child support and child custody, the other thing you could consider is you can go right to the courts and get child support orders and child custody orders, and some people feel comfortable navigating that themselves without a lawyer because the states tend to provide a little bit more support
And structure when it comes
to children, both custody and support. So I think maybe the more that you can try to tackle some of these 5 areas yourself, then what that does is that makes the to-do list for the lawyer a lot shorter.
Right. Well, and that, to your point, I think that kind of falls into what types of fees there are, or costs there are with attorneys.
Yeah.
Because there are, some attorneys work on a flat fee,
right,
kind of a concierge type service. They'll do certain things for a certain rate.
Right.
Or there's, the retainer.
Right. And then hourly.
Right. Hourly.
So I think, if you can get a flat fee, I think that's ideal.
Right.
Because
for a lot of people, because
right, you know what to expect.
Right, check it off the list.
It's a flat fee. And so that's one approach is, tell the attorney of those 5 areas where you need help, explain your situation, and then if you can get a flat fee, I'm an advocate for that because there's certainty to it.
Right.
Now, not everybody will work with a flat fee approach, and so other attorneys charge hourly rates. That can be a little bit more a gray area because you don't know how many hours will be involved.
Right, right. And then there are, contingency fees. It's not as common. That's more of there's no upfront fee, but the attorney would take a percentage of the settlement. So I don't know how much in family law that comes into play, but it's an option for some. And then there's a statutory fee, which is an upfront, kind of a agreed upon, approved fee upfront, and that's all it is. I'm not 100% sure on family law because it does sometimes take longer or get a little bit messier, so that might not be in the big picture family law realm as much as some other types of.
Yeah, it's an option for a woman or a man, to use would be to think about contacting the state bar, the family law grouping, but don't forget also that at the county level and even at the city level, if you're in a big city or you're near a big city, check that out on the web, and sometimes you'll find resources in state and local bar in that family law realm where they might have a do-it-yourself kit.
Right.
They might
resources.
Right. The family bar may know of attorneys who are willing to work pro bono.
Right.
To offer some services without a fee, in instances where there's a need. And so don't be afraid to call them, and you might see if there's like a committee chair for the family law bar group in your area, and don't be afraid to call and have a conversation with that person to find out, well, are there lawyers that are offering some services that, are more pro bono or not have a lot of cost attached.
Right. And like we talked about, negotiate. It doesn't hurt to ask. All they can say is no, and you can make your choice from there. Other options with paying, some will take payment plans. Ask.
Right.
The more questions you ask, the better informed you'll be.
Yeah.
So I think things like that.
If you think about where to get the money from, let's say that you find a lawyer and you feel like a good fit, and now we need a retainer or a flat fee. Where does the money come from? Well, you could consider taking a loan. You could certainly consider asking to borrow money from family and friends.
Right.
Some people have that option. You could sell your wedding ring. You could, sell other items. The other thing too to think about is in a lot of households, there's like a joint banking account where maybe husband and wife are both named on the account. What you could think about is setting up your own small single account in your own name, and then let your soon-to-be ex know, hey, I'm getting ready to take half of what's in our joint account and move it to my own single account, and I would propose you go ahead and you take that other half. It's better if you don't move money around before we have separation agreements and things in place, but frankly, just sometimes in order for one spouse or the other to actually get their hands on some assets, sometimes that's their only choice early on like that.
Right. Another option I've seen, and this is most recently here with the technology and the day and age we're in, but even if you don't have family, you can ask. There's GoFundMe accounts, things like that you can set up and ask for help.
Yeah. It's divorce oftentimes is not easy. It's oftentimes complicated, along with being interpersonally such a difficult thing to go through. And I think you and I both agree. We encourage most folks, don't go it alone.
Right.
You wouldn't operate on your own if you needed a hip replacement, right? Because neither of us are trained orthopedic surgeons. A divorce can be one of the biggest, not just emotional, but financial transactions in someone's life.
You need a team.
Yeah.
You need advocates to help you understand all of the nuances, from the financial world to the attorney world to counselors. So you need a team surrounding you that can support you and lift you up and help you understand what you're going through.
Absolutely. So don't be afraid to call a lawyer. Don't be afraid to bring up money early in the conversation. And like Amy said, don't be afraid to negotiate.
Well, thank you so much for being here today. I think this is very helpful.